Buenos días, buenas tardes, buenas noches, amigos de las redes sociales. Estoy aquí con el gran Lucho. Nos va a explicar un poco de lo que vamos a hacer en este recorrido que dura aproximadamente 2 horas. Lucho, cuéntanos un poco.
La leteo, píntamela que yo la coloreo. Pepo, esta noche no copeo. Manda la uvi donde hay traqueteo.
Si hay romo, si hay guaro, si hay fría, si hay chori, si hay baile, si hay fiesta, todo el mundo está happy.
Arrebatao, arrebatao, arrebatao. Arrebatao, arrebatao, arrebatao.
Si hay romo, si hay guaro, si hay fría, si hay chori, si hay baile, si hay...
Hola, ¿cómo están? Bienvenidos al Bogotá Graffiti Tour en nuestro recorrido que es a pie. Lo hacemos aquí por la zona histórica de Bogotá, que llamamos la Candelaria. Alrededor de 2 horas vamos a estar caminando, recorriendo los murales más importantes y más impresionantes de la ciudad. Vamos a aprender un poco sobre qué es un graffiti, qué no es un graffiti, un poquito de la técnica, un poquito de la historia, de las razones, de los nombres de los artistas más importantes, y vamos a utilizar el arte callejero como una excusa para aprender más sobre Colombia, sobre su historia, su geografía, su política. Entonces es un tour muy completo y lo van a disfrutar mucho.
Y cuéntame, ¿cómo nace esta cultura urbana? ¿Cuándo nació? ¿Cómo sacan los permisos?
Bueno, es parte de lo que vamos a ver durante el recorrido, entonces no te voy a spoilear, así que quédense con nosotros y van a aprenderlo más adelante.
Bien, entonces como pueden ver ahí, es totalmente libre, invitación libre. Este es un aporte voluntario para ellos se esfuerzan por demostrarnos a nosotros la cultura tal vez de Colombia, cómo quieren expresarse, y lo vamos a ir viendo poco a poco en estas imágenes. Así que, amigos míos, atentos. Bien, Lucho, vámonos.
First a little bit about you. Where are you from? How long have you been in Bogotá? Identity. What else? Injustice. You are getting very political. That's good. So graffiti is everything you mentioned and way more. There is no official definition of what is a graffiti because, well, there is no official academy regulating graffiti. Graffiti is something spontaneously from people who do it. But in general, most of the artists that I know agree on something. Graffiti is any type of artistic expression that takes place on public space and normally in an illegal manner. These two are the key words to understand what is a graffiti. So we have examples like that one over there. Do you think that's a graffiti? Yeah, it's on a wall, bright colors, expression of something, yeah, it has a message, political one. But in my opinion, my personal opinion, this is not a graffiti. Because it was commissioned. It was paid by someone to do it, and it was given the permission to do it. So officially, for some hardcore people, this is not a real graffiti. This is what we call a piece of street art, or a mural art, but not a graffiti. So there's like a very, very thin line. Because in many cases, you have the same people, the same artists who do graffiti, they also can do legal work. Yeah, so they're jumping in these two worlds. So that one is very interesting because it was made commissioned by a local indigenous community. They are indigenous from the southwestern part of Colombia, in a region called Cauca. In the Cauca, there is a Nasa tribe. They have still their own identity, their own culture, and their own language. So, everywhere you know, in big cities like Bogota or in Berlin or in New York, you will find graffiti. But it's very hard to say. Many people complain because they think this is a vandalic thing which is destroying the cities. Look at that over there. Everything just behind your wall, it was full of graffiti. The problem is that this building is protected as monuments. So monuments should not be painted with murals. So this is the reason why every day someone comes here and spray some message back, and the next day a poor woman is here cleaning all the painting. So this is a word it never stops. The most basic unit of expression of graffiti you can see here behind you is what we call a tag. Tagging. You see, it's a very simple. Tagging is basically a signature. It's a single line drawing or writing.
Los tags.
Tagging is the most basic one. Why is that? The origin of the modern graffiti that you were mentioning before originated in big cities in the US like New York, Philadelphia, or LA, where you have these big cities where the wealth was concentrated in the center, and you have a lot of migrants in the surrounding area, like in the suburbs or in the ghettos, more or less, who had no access to the opportunities. They didn't even feel part of the society. They were just migrants. They were trying to integrate, but it was not always possible. Some of these people, especially the children from these immigrants from Latin America, in big cities like United States, they had no access to the actual society and the wealth and the opportunities like other white people did. So they felt that they wanted to create their own parallel outside, well, there's counterculture. They started creating spray paint cultural style. All freehand. It was painted by a local artist called Franco. You can see the signature underneath, FCO. He's one of the pioneers and the superstar of the graffiti scene in Bogota. But this one was painted by a female artist called Bastardilla. She is an artist, but she's very committed with the environment and nature. The problem is that spray painting are very toxic. Dale, gracias. So with the same. So the spray paint, it releases a lot of fumes and it's very toxic when you inhale it for a long time. So she prefers painting only with water-based colors. And do you see what is represented here? Can you tell me what it is? Páramo. What is a páramo? How can you define it?
It's an ecosystem that produces water.
Yeah, very short definition. It's an ecosystem. It's the highest ecosystem you can find. And where can you find the páramo? Here, in which parts of the world? In the Andes. Normally just in the tropical part of the Andes, which is Venezuela, Ecuador, the north of Peru, and especially Colombia. You go southern from Peru, it's not tropical anymore, so there are no páramos there. Páramos look like this. Did you know it? Páramos are very unique because they exist in very, very high places which are too cold for normal plants to survive. So the plants there are adapted to survive, to withstand low temperatures. But at the same time, these are very foggy places. If you look at the mountain of Monserrate, early in the morning or late at night, it will be covered with clouds. So normally, it's just foggy. These plants have also the capacity, because they are covered with small like hair, like fur. There are many murals here which have a here painting. You see, beside the signature of the artist, in this case are two artists, Wasna and Bastardilla. Bastardilla is the same one, the girl who painted the Panama picture over there. They were together in the mural. Why do you think people want to write the year of painting 2021, 2017, 2019? Why is it important? See, it's because the street art is changing, it's temporary, so you have to keep in mind. But also, this is a good point, because you know, if you painted this in 2017 and it has survived until today, it's because you did something right. Otherwise, the next day, the next week will someone cover your paint. Exactly what she said is that they come from a region in north of Colombia called Santander, which is traditionally very liberal. Then, her father, her sister's father, they were liberals, but the sister married a conservative guy. And he had to go, but always hidden. They couldn't show up publicly that they were married and they had contacted to a conservative. That bad was it. So many, many histories like that is what Colombians, like 2 generations ago, they have, like my grandma too. My grandma comes from the North Colombian. Great episode. It feels like really big episode. We want to stay, so it'll be a lot more. You can have a small break here. So as I mentioned before, graffiti can be many, many things. The big mural that you see up there is not a picture, it's spray paint that is brush painted, and also what the size is convenient. Bogota can be considered one of the most friendliest cities to street art and graffiti, because the rules have been changing, making more tolerant, and also the people's mentality has started changing. Why? Now is it possible to get money from the government of the city to paint graffitis on murals, like this one. This will be too big and too expensive to do just on your own. So the girl, Bastardilla, the same one who painted, which was on the insect there and the páramo over there, she painted here using water-based colors. But she's very clever. Normally, in order to paint something like this, you just need not only a lot of paint, but you need scaffolding, un andamium, you need a ladder to get up there, or a crane, and it's all expensive. Where do you get that money? So you have to get someone financing you, or you have to get paid a lot of money. But in other cases, like Bastardilla, what she does is she uses an extension, like the one used for cleaning the windows, or to cleaning the swimming pool, wraps a roller or a brush underneath, and starts painting from underneath. That's the way she painted this. She's very, very clever, very creative. In other cases, in order to get some expression lines like those on the face, you cannot use traditional techniques like a brush, because the brushes are maximum this big. You don't find a brush which is that big. So she uses brooms, escobas. Like a broom, piece, because it's too wild, it's too complicated, too hard to paint, but also too hard to read. I have no idea what is written there. But this shows it's a professional. Not anybody can go here and paint something so complicated illegally. So
So normally graffiti, and another difference between graffiti and street art is who is your public. Graffiti is intended to be understood by a few people, like a code, secret code. You tag million people who know you, and they cover huge surfaces. Surfaces bigger than a throw up. And we have this one here, is what you can see on the background. This is probably the maximum evolution of the graffiti writing, which we call it quick piece. It's a graphic composition with letters, a background, there's some shading, some bubbles, and sometimes also a drawing. So this is like the most complex type of graffiti writing. Remember, there are two different roles. We normally would believe the graffitiers are all the same. Yeah, there's a lot of teenagers and a lot of teenagers with a big parents that are drawing art. Not today. And everywhere you look, you will find graffiti. The big, the nice, or the ugly ones, doesn't matter. Everywhere you look here. Happen that Bogota is all full of graffiti, but this area, the Candelaria, is especially the most interesting one. Because Bogota is too big. Imagine 10 million people from all over the country, all over the world living here. There is a lot of differences because historically, 100 years ago, Bogota was just as tiny as the Candelaria historical area. It is in the 1930s and the 1940s, with exposure to the violence and the migration from refugees, that the city started growing because most of the refugees settled in the city center and in the south. Together with the refugees came a lot of social problems like poverty, lack of working opportunities, a lot of criminality started happening, homeless people and so on. Especially the rich Bogotanos don't want to live here anymore. This is the reason that after 1948 and 1950, the rich Bogotanos moved to the north. And this is a trend. Every 10 to 15 years, the city grows a little bit to the north, a little bit to the south. So the wealthy people move further to the north, looking for exclusivity and safety. And the new refugees go to the city and settle in the south. That's why you can see this huge social difference between north and south. You go to the northeast, next to the mountain, you will find the neighborhood like the nice international hotels, like your hotel in Chico, the country clubs, the embassies, the fancy restaurants. The clubs are all in the north, like these big shopping malls. Northwest of Bogota is more or less like a middle-class house. You go to the southern part of the country, you will find these indigenous natives. Next to the border to Ecuador, in the jungle, we have a border with Brazil and with Peru. People look really natives, untouched natives. Many have their own culture, their own language, their own religions still today. But what about the central one? This is not what you expect to find in Colombia, like a traditional, typical Latin American. But there is a region, like you were mentioning, in the north of Colombia, next to the border to Venezuela, where we have big migrations in the 16th, but in the 19th century from Germans and Italians. Actually, Venezuela used to be a colony from Germany in the 16th century. This is something that many people know. And some of these Germans who migrated to South America, to Colombia, introduced important industries, like beer. What is the name of the biggest brewery in Colombia? Bavaria. What can be more German? For the people who are visiting Medellin, one of the highlights in Medellin is a place called Comuna 30. Street art and graffiti have a very important role in the renovation of Comuna 30. Back in the days, the year 2000, the Comuna 30 was affected. Comuna 30 was considered to be the most dangerous neighborhood in the most dangerous city in the world. No one was mentally prepared to enter that. Medellin cartel was destroyed, and little by little, this neighborhood, but people had no opportunity. The only people who gave them a job were the drug lords. The hitmen of the Escobar, the prostitutes from the drug cartels came from those neighborhoods. But now people say like we want to get rid of violence. We don't have to have our kids and our brothers and our sisters killed in the drug world. So they started a renovation process. It started in year 2002 again with our friend Álvaro Uribe. He sent the biggest military operation in the Colombian city, the Operation Orion. This is a picture of that Orion, which is very polemic. There is a long story behind it.
They used helicopters to bomb people in the community.
Yeah, because they just entered, thousands of military entered the comuna and started just taking people who were suspected to be guerrilla fighters or guerrilla supporters. They were just taken randomly from the houses, killed or put to prison without proof, without evidence. So this was a cleaning, like a wipeout operation for a few days, but a lot of innocent civilians also suffered that operation. The most polemic picture we have is this one, because this picture was made in the middle of the Operation Orion,
and it became very polemic because we can see a military, all soldiers of Colombian army, given instructions by a man with his face covered, with a camouflage without markings, and with rubber boots. So normally, military, Colombian military never use that uniform. It's the paramilitary who do. So this is the first time we had an evidence that the paramilitary were working together with the government forces. You can see that there is a paramilitary commander giving instructions to the soldiers. It's really, really shady. Many shady things can happen in that time. But now the Comuna 13 is born again. The community is getting very together and they are offering and open to tourism. One of the most coolest things are the people there, like our friend Apollo from Medellin. We have also Arpia from Bogotá.
Coffee here, yeah, I don't know if we have the time.
Okay,
but yeah, they have.
Él sí es colombiano.
Can home afterwards.
Él sí es colombiano, ¿no? Café, café.
Sí, un tinto. Ahora estoy como sí, yo tengo un poco de guayabo. No como guayabo, no es que tomé, sino que
Guayao.
¿Por qué? ¿Estás trabajando?
No, estoy como visitando. Pasé, bueno, un año en Medellín y volví por acá.
Un año.
Y anoche fui a ver a Black Panther y fue uno de los últimos que tenía. Sí, sí.
So there are public
Bien, ¿ah? Guay, esos términos.
Okay, let's go across the street.
Awesome.
Toda la semana las pintan. Pero esa casita está cuca. La próxima semana tiene cuatro grafitis.
Did you see what happened there? You see what is happening there? They just park the motorbikes and they're making videos. This is how people behave when you have cool murals. People would just go there. It's a place where no one used to go. Now you have people here doing photo shootings for catalogs, for fashion brands, or maybe making music videos. There is a place in Bogota called the Graffiti District where everywhere you go, every time you go there, you will see people painting or people filming, making pictures. Yesterday I went there with a group and it was a big production of urban art video. So I'm not gonna talk much about the artist was none because there are some people, come closer please, there's a car coming, clear the way for them. I will tell you a little secret. Not all graffiti artists like graffiti tours. There are some people who believe that we're just profiting out of their work. But actually they're profiting out of the work. What we are doing is not just trying to get some money from that, but also we give it back. And at the same time we are promoting that people understand what is the real value. Why not should not be considered something illegal, destructive. Actually, three of them. These three artists, they know each other very well. They get together to paint different projects. And they work a lot together because they are family. They used to be father and children. The father, Rhodes, is the one who painted this. You can see, especially on the stairs. You can see the hand-painted mythical animal. They look like dragon, like a dream animal with many eyes, multiple eyes. This is his trademark. Everywhere you see animals or people with many eyes, you will know it was Rhodes' work. Rhodes was a fine artist, nothing to do with street art, nothing to do with graffiti, just a fine artist. He was a teacher of art in a university in Bogota. He used to sell his prints on art galleries and do illustrations for books. But he had two children, and when the two children were teenagers, they started listening to hip-hop music and painting graffiti. And it's the children who brought the father to the graffiti scene. So the three became very prominent and very important here. Painting projects. So projects like this are commissioned and financed by the government. Why is that? Many governments in the world are now discovering that graffiti can be used for bad or for good. Back in the day, people avoided going to places full of graffiti because they understood there are gangs, people, drug dealing and illegal activities there. So I better don't get in because I'm getting into someone's territory.
Graffiti was used to mark territory. This is my wall, this is my corner, this is my neighborhood. Don't get here or you will get into trouble. But over time, people are realizing that beautiful graffiti changed the city for good. When you have a nice painted murals, people will go there and make a picture. Look how many tourists, how many visitors are just visiting all these walls around here. Thousands of people visit these walls every week. So the government said it's a good way not only to make it attractive for tourism and increase the economy of the area, but also is a way to bring back life to depressed neighborhoods in the cities. So many cities in the world are doing that. Take places which are very, very dangerous and abandoned, where no one goes, make graffiti, high quality graffiti, and you will see that people go there, the economy starts growing, and the safety will increase. This is what happened here, because in Latin America we use an expression called the invisible borders. You know it? You know what is an invisible? How can you define it?
So if you go from one block to another, you'll be in another gang's territory, but you won't. There's nothing marking it.
Exactly, there is nothing marking. The only way is to know the graffitis. So up here, behind the main avenue of the university, there is a neighborhood, one of the oldest favelas in Bogota. We call it Egipto. And Egipto was controlled by different gangs. The people from this neighborhood could not enter the other neighborhood. And you as visitor or as Bogotano or as a student, you cannot enter there. Some of these people there had no access to the universities and schools around here, so the children, the members of the... Ahí la ponemos con Photoshop. Ok, ¿listos? 1, 2, 2,5, 3. ¿Listo?
Voto por si se dañó.
Por si acaso.
Gracias. Pregúntale a Fernando que Valentina le dijo que me dieran una camiseta de...
Tours, because we financed this. This is what we do. Beside the tours, we connect people. Happened that Robin is a German. He was traveling from South America when the pandemic exploded, and he had to stay in Chile, in Santiago de Chile. So he has been living there for almost 3 years now, and he visited Colombia 2 weeks ago. And he said, like, cool, Colombia has a lot of street art, I want to paint here. He contacted us, and we helped him to find the location, and we gave some money for the supplies. So this is what we do. We are financing some new project. We are inviting national and international artists to paint, to leave a legacy to the city. So that's what he is. He's more than a street artist. He's a graphic designer. He does pretty cool illustrations. He was bringing an Instagram of Romoko. Okay, let's continue. They didn't do human sacrifices, that's why they're not so famous. But our natives live very close to nature, because they understood that nature and water is the origin of life. So where do you go? To the temples, the place where there is water. So they used to go to the mountains or to the lakes to make their ceremony. Have you visited the Gold Museum in Bogota? If you haven't, please go. Because in the Gold Museum you will see not just gold artifacts, but you will understand a little bit more about how was the mentality of the people who lived here before the Spanish conquest. So they used to go to the paramos to make ceremonies and sacrifices, but not human sacrifice. They used to sacrifice artifacts like gold. Gold pieces were thrown into the lake as a present for the gods. Because according to the myth of the creation, at the beginning of time, there was a paramo lake called Iguaque in the north of Bogota, in a place called Villa de Leyva. The lake is located at 3,500 meters over sea level. And according to the myth,
Qué lindo se ven agarrados de la mano, qué bonito, felicidades. Cuídese.
But with Spanish arrival, the Muisca tradition were transformed into the Catholic tradition. So everywhere there was sacred for the Muiscas became a Catholic sanctuary. This is why you can find church there. Many people ask me where it is. I'm going to show you where it used to be. This mural is gone now. This is one of the many victims of COVID. Not only people suffering, also COVID was a massacre of street art. Because many of these walls So, the mural behind me, you can really identify already the signature of our friend Guache 2022. It's very recent. This wall has been property from Guache because Guache is not the owner of the building, but you know street art is a battle for public space.
So you just go there, you claim the wall, and it's yours. If people respect you, no one will touch you, no one ever there to paint your wall. The only one who paints over what's work is watching. So this wasn't already in a bad condition. Hey, it was in a bad condition, and this is why we called Watch It. We said this year, like in August, September, we said, Watch It, we have some money collected from donations from the tour. We can go and renovate it. You want to do it? We said, okay, let's do it. So weeks before painting this mural, Watch It was in the Pacific coast on a black Colombian. The most famous picture in Bogota was painted. But as I said, due to the pandemic, it disappeared. And not long ago, our friend Watch It one more time came here and painted in 2021 a new beautiful picture. What I really respect and like about Watch It is that he's an artist who is all the time evolving. He's looking for new opportunities, new options. We can see that really differentiate the old from the modern painting from Watch It. It's very realistic, you can see. He's using not just the picture with some color around, but he's using the color over, like a color filter. It's really innovative of what he did. So this is not to criticize some Colombian artists who just find a formula and do it over and over and over. I'm not going to say the name, but there are some artists who have been doing the same thing for 30 or 40 years now. Watch it, you can see he's changing all the time.
It's just like a partner, or like people, let's say, like compañera. In Colombia, things are really interesting that people use the word marica. It's like refusing but it's not like, in other places it's offensive. It's not. If you say O instead of A, then it's like what? Yeah. It's like. What was